The alarm bells rang through a research station, harmony like a death warning. Dr. Jinwoo Park dropped his coffee cup and ran toward the docking bay. The hot liquid splashed across his white lab coat, but he did not care. Emergency calls on the station always meant trouble. Commander Minji-ko was already there when he arrived. Her hand rested on her weapon as she watched the maintenance crew work. The smell of burned metal filled the air. Smoke rose from the twisted wreckage of what looked like a small ship. "What happened here?" Jinwoo asked as he caught his breath. Minji turned to him. Her face was serious. "Crashed vessel. Unknown origin. Hyunsu found it during his morning rounds." Hyunsu was a young maintenance worker who had been on the station for only 6 months. He stood near the wreckage, his face pale with fear. His hands shook as he pointed at the broken ship. "I was checking the outer sensors when I heard sounds," Hyunsu said. His voice was quiet, not machine sounds. Something else. Something alive. Jinwoo moved closer to the wreckage. The ship was black like the space between stars. Its surface was smooth but covered in strange marks. He had never seen anything like it before. But something about those marks made his stomach feel cold. "Dr. Park," called a voice from behind them.
"Ow, you should not go near that thing."
"You knew." Keth, the Veltharian council member, stood at the entrance to the docking bay. His blue skin looked darker than usual. Small crystals on his forehead were glowing red, which meant he was afraid. "Why not?" Jinwoo asked. "It is just a crashed ship. Look at the marks," Keth said, pointed at the black surface. "Those are Shadow Maw symbols." The name hit Jinwoo like a cold wave. Everyone in the galaxy knew about the Shadow Maw. They were the apex predators of space. No species had ever won a fight against them. Whole planets had been destroyed when the Shadow Maw decided they were threats. "Are you sure?" Minji asked. Her hand moved closer to her weapon. "I am sure, Keth," replied. "My people have fought them for 300 years. No, I know their ships." More aliens began to arrive at the docking bay. Zrik, the insect-like representative, clicked his mandibles in a pattern that meant extreme danger. His compound eyes reflected the emergency lights like tiny mirrors. "We must destroy it," Zrik said. His voice sounded like grinding metal. "Destroy it before whatever is inside can escape." Vorth, the silicon-based Gornax delegate, moved forward on his rocky legs. "Damn." Each step made a sound like stones falling. "The mathematical probability of survival, if adult Shadow Maw are present, is 0.001%, he said in his deep voice. But Jinwoo was not listening to them anymore. He could hear something from inside the wreckage. It was not the sound of adult Shadow Maw, which was supposed to be like 1,000 screaming voices. This sound was different. It was high and soft and sad. "There is something alive in there," he said. "Yes," Keth replied. "Something that will grow up to destroy us all." Jinwoo ignored the warnings and moved closer to the ship. Through a crack in the hull, he could see movement. Something small and dark was moving inside, and it was making that sad sound again. "Dr. Park, step away," Minji ordered. But her voice was not as strong as usual. She had heard the sound too. Jinwoo knelt down beside the crack. He could see better now. Inside the ship were 3 small creatures. They looked like tiny versions of the adult Shadow Maw he had seen in the war documentaries. But they were bigger than human children. Their dark fur was matted with something that looked like blood. Their large eyes were filled with tears. "They are babies," he whispered. "Babies that will become the most dangerous predators in the galaxy," Zrik said. His wings buzzed with agitation. "We must kill them now while we can." But Jinwoo could not look away from the small creatures. One of them, the smallest, was trying to crawl toward the crack. It reached out with a tiny clawed hand, not to attack, but as if it wanted help. "They are hurt," Jinwoo said. "And they are scared." "Of course they are scared," Vorth rumbled. "Fear is a survival response. It does not make them less dangerous." More station personnel had gathered around the wreckage. The Aquarian representative, Blub 7, floated in his water suit and made burbling sounds of distress. The ethereal being called Wisp flickered between visible and invisible as it expressed its anxiety. "The council must be informed immediately," Keth announced. And a vote must be taken on how to handle this situation. What kind of vote? Jinwoo asked, though he already knew the answer. Whether to study them or to dispose of them, Keth replied. Without emotion, Jinwoo felt anger rise in his chest. They are children, babies. How can you talk about disposing of them? Because they are Shadowmaw children, Zrick said. Do you know what adult Shadowmaw do to their enemies? They do not just kill them. They make them suffer first. These babies will grow up to do the same thing. You do not know that, Jinwoo argued. Maybe they learn to be violent. Maybe they are not born that way. It does not matter, Forth said. The risk is too great. Logic demands their elimination. But Jinwoo was not thinking about logic anymore. He was thinking about the way the smallest creature had reached out to him, about the tears in their large eyes, about how they huddled together for comfort. I want to examine them, he said. Absolutely not, Keth replied. It is too dangerous. I am the chief xenobiologist on this station, Jinwoo said firmly. Studying unknown life forms is my job, Minji stepped forward. I will provide security, she said. If Dr. Park wants to examine them, I will make sure he is safe. The other aliens looked at the two humans as if they had lost their minds. Strick's mandibles clicked faster. Worth's rocky surface darkened. Even Wisp became fully visible, which only happened when it was extremely upset. You cannot be serious, Keth said. These creatures are abominations. Their very existence threatens all life in the galaxy. They are babies, Jinwoo repeated. Right now, they need help. He turned back to the crack in the hole. The smallest creature was still reaching toward him, without thinking about the consequences. Jinwoo reached out and gently touched the tiny clawed hand with his finger. The creature stopped crying. Its large eyes focused on Jinwoo's face. For just a moment, it made a sound that was almost like purring. Every alien in the docking bay took a step backward. Impossible, Wisp whispered. They respond to him, Minji observed. They are not trying to attack. Keth's crystal forehead was now flashing red rapidly. This changes nothing. The council will vote, and these creatures will be destroyed. It is the only logical choice. But as Jinwoo continued to gently stroke the tiny creature's hand, he made a decision that would change everything. He would not let them be destroyed. Not without a fight. The other two creatures had stopped crying too. They crawled closer to the crack, drawn by their siblings' calm response to the human touch. For the first time since their ship had crashed, they felt something other than fear. They felt hope. And in the space station, orbiting above a contested world, a human scientist made a choice that no other species would have dared to make. Chose to see frightened children instead of future monsters. The consequences of that choice would echo across the galaxy. The emergency council meeting lasted for hours. Jinwoo sat in the human section and watched as every alien representative spoke. Against keeping the Shadowmaw offspring alive, their words were the same. Too dangerous. Too risky. Must be destroyed. When the vote came, it was 12-1. Only the humans voted to keep the creatures alive. The decision is final, announced Chancellor Vex through the communication screen. His tentacles moved in patterns that meant absolute authority. The creatures will be disposed of within 24 hours. Jinwoo felt his heart sink. Beside him, Commander Minji Ko clenched her fists. In the back row, the other human crew members looked angry and sad. There must be another way, Jinwoo said, standing up. There is no other way, Keth replied. His blue skin had returned to its normal color now that the decision was made. The safety of the galaxy comes first. But they are just babies, said Dedadama. Dr. Soyang Lee. She was the station's psychologist and had been studying alien behavior for 10 years. They have done nothing wrong. They do not need to do anything wrong, Zrick clicked. They are Shadowmaw. That is enough. After the meeting ended, the human crew gathered in their common room. There were only 8 humans on the station, but they had become like a family over the past 2 years. We cannot let this happen, said Nurse Shunji. She was the smallest person on the station, but her voice was fierce. Those creatures are babies. They need care, not death. The decision has been made, said Pilot Dong-yuk. He was usually the most careful member of their group. If we go against the council, we could lose our jobs. We could be banned from space travel. So what? Minji said. Some things are more important than jobs. Jinwoo looked around the room at his friends. These people had become his second family. He knew he was asking them to risk everything. I have a plan, he said quietly, but it will be dangerous. And if we get caught, we will all be in serious trouble. What kind of plan? So-young asked. We moved the offspring to Research Lab 7. It is in the restricted section. No aliens are allowed there without human permission. That is stealing, Dong-yuk said, and lying, and probably 20 other crimes. It is also saving lives, Yoongi added. They talked for another hour. In the end, the vote was 6-2. Even Dong-yuk agreed to help, though he made everyone promise to be very careful. They moved at night when most of the alien crew was sleeping. Jinwoo and Minji went to the docking bay while the others prepared the research lab. The Shadow Maw offspring were huddled together in a temporary cage. They looked even smaller and more frightened than before. Hey there, little ones, Jinwoo whispered as he opened the cage. We are going to take you somewhere safe. The creatures looked up at him with their large dark eyes. The smallest one, which Jinwoo had started thinking of as Little One, reached out to touch his hand again. They remember you, Minji observed. Look how calm they are. It was true. The offspring were not struggling or trying to escape. They seemed to understand that the humans were trying to help them. Moving 3 alien creatures through the station without being seen was harder than they had expected. The offspring were small, but they were still heavy, and they made soft sounds when they were nervous. Yoongi whispered as she carried the middle-sized creature. Everything is okay. We are almost there. Research Lab 7 was perfect for their needs. It had its own life support system, medical equipment, and most importantly, locks that only humans could open. They set up 3 beds and filled the room with soft materials for the creatures to sleep on. Now what? Dong-yuk asked as they watched the offspring explore their new home. Now we learn everything we can about them, Jinwoo said, and we prove that they are not monsters. The first week was the hardest. The alien crew noticed that the docking bay was empty, but the humans claimed the creatures had been disposed of as ordered. Only Keth seemed suspicious. Where are the disposal records? Asked Minji during a security meeting. Filed with the proper authorities, she replied without blinking. I would like to see them. That is confidential human military information. You do not have clearance. Keth's crystals flickered, but he could not argue with regulations. Meanwhile, in Lab 7, amazing things were happening. The offspring were not the mindless killers everyone expected them to be. They were curious and playful. They liked to explore their environment and play with simple toys that Yoongi made for them. Look at this, So-young said one morning. She had been recording the creature's behavior. The big one is teaching the little one how to use the feeding bowl. It shows intelligence and care for others. Jinwoo had been spending most of his time with the largest offspring, which he started calling Big Brother. The creature had learned to recognize human voices and would make happy sounds when Jinwoo entered the room. They are forming emotional bonds, he told the others, just like human children do with their parents. The middle creature, which they called Middle Sister, seemed to be the smartest of the 3. She figured out how to open containers and could solve simple puzzles that So-young gave her. Little One was the most affectionate. She liked to curl up next to the humans when they sat down to rest. Her purring sound was so peaceful that Yoongi sometimes fell asleep while watching her. But their secret could not last forever. 3 weeks after they had hidden the offspring, Zrik came to the human section with a complaint. There are strange sounds coming from Research Lab 7, he said. To Mingi, sounds that should not be there if the lab is empty. The lab is not empty, Mingi replied calmly. We are conducting classified research. What kind of research? Classified means secret, Zrik. I cannot tell you. But Zrik was more clever than they had thought. The next day, he brought Vorth and Keth with him. The 3 aliens stood outside Lab 7 and listened carefully. Inside the lab, Little one was making her happy purring sound. It was a sound that no human or human machine could make. "That is a Shadowmaw sound," Keth said. His crystals were flashing red again. "Impossible," Minji said, but her voice was not as steady as before. "Open the lab," Vorth demanded. "Show us this classified research. I cannot do that without proper authorization." "Then we will get authorization," Zrick said angrily. "And when we do, you humans will be in more trouble than you can imagine." That night, the human crew held another emergency meeting. "They know," Dong-yuk said. "It is only a matter of time before they prove it. So what do we do?" "Yanji," asked Jinwoo, looked around the room at his friends. They had all risked everything to save 3 alien children. But now they were about to be caught. "We tell the truth," he said. "We show them what we have learned. We prove that these creatures are not monsters." "They will not listen," Soyoung said. "They are too afraid." "Then we make them listen," Minji said firmly. "We show them that fear is not a good reason to kill children." "The offspring trust us now," Jinwoo added. "They are calm and happy. That has to mean something." Yet even as they made their plans, they knew the next day would bring the greatest challenge yet. The alien crew was already suspicious. Soon they would demand answers. And when that happened, humans would have to choose between following orders and protecting the innocent. For Jinwoo and his friends, the choice was already made. 3 months had passed since the humans had hidden the Shadowmaw offspring in Research Lab 7. What started as a desperate rescue had become something nobody expected. Creatures were no longer just alien babies being protected. They had become family. Jinwoo entered the lab every morning at 7 o'clock sharp. Big Brother would always be waiting by the door, making soft clicking sounds that meant happiness. The creature had grown bigger and now reaching up to Jinwoo's waist, but his personality remained gentle and curious. "Good morning, my friend," Jinwoo would say. And Big Brother would touch his hand with careful claws. Being very gentle despite his size, Dr. Soyoung Lee sat in the corner of the lab, taking notes as she watched middle sister solve another puzzle. The creature could now complete tasks that would challenge a human 10-year-old. She had learned to stack blocks and patterns, sort objects by color, and even seemed to understand simple mathematical concepts. "This is incredible," Soyoung told Jinwoo. "Her intelligence is developing faster than any species we have studied. She solved the maze puzzle in half the time it took her last week." Middle sister looked up from her blocks and made a sound that the humans had learned meant she wanted attention. Soyoung smiled and gave her a gentle pat on the head. The creature purred happily and returned to her game. In the medical section of the lab, Nurse Yoonji was checking little one's health. The smallest offspring had been sick when they first found her, but under human care, she had grown strong and healthy. She was still the most affectionate of the 3, always wanting to be close to her human caretakers. "Her vital signs are perfect," Yoonji reported. "Better than perfect, actually. I think being cared for by humans has made her stronger than she would have been with her own species." Little one climbed into Yoonji's lap and curled up like a cat. Her soft purring filled the room with a peaceful sound. It was hard to believe that other species found this sound terrifying. But outside the lab, tensions were growing worse every day. The alien crew members had become suspicious and angry. They knew something was wrong, but they could not prove it. Keth had requested 3 different inspections of the human section. Each time, Mingi had found legal reasons to delay or deny his requests. But she knew their luck would not last forever. "How much longer can we keep this secret?" Pilot Dong-yuk asked during their weekly meeting. "Keth is getting more suspicious every day. And now Zrick is asking questions too, as long as we need to," Minji replied firmly. "We gave our word to protect them, but what happens when they find out?" Dong-yuk pressed. "They will not just fire us. They might put us in prison." "When we go to prison," Jinwoo said simply. "Some things are more important than our freedom." The breakthrough came during the 4th month. Soyoung was working with middle sister on communication exercises when something amazing happened. The creature began to copy human hand gestures. Not just randomly, but with clear understanding of their meaning. "Look," Soyoung called to the others. "Watch this." She held up one finger. Middle sister held up one claw. Soyoung held up 2 fingers. Middle sister held up 2 claws. Then Soyoung pointed to a red block. Middle sister picked up the red block and handed it to her. She understands, Jinwoo breathed. She is actually communicating with us. Within days, all three offspring were learning basic human gestures. Big brother was the best at copying movements. His middle sister was the fastest learner. Little one was the most creative, sometimes combining gestures in new ways that seemed to express complex ideas. This changes everything, Soyoung said as she updated her research notes. They are not just intelligent. They are capable of learning human language and concepts. This proves they are not naturally violent. But their joy was interrupted by an emergency alert. Commander Minji's voice came. Over the communication system, all human personnel report to the common room immediately. We have a situation. When they gathered, Minji's face was grim. I just received word from Earth Command. A Shadow Maw delegation has requested permission to board the station. They are looking for something they call their lost children. The room fell silent. Everyone understood what this meant. The adult Shadow Maw had come for their offspring, and they would not be happy to learn that humans had been hiding them. How long do we have? Jinwoo asked. 2 days. Maybe 3 if we are lucky. What do we do? Yenji asked. We cannot just hand them over. The offspring trust us now. They see us as their family. And we cannot fight adult Shadow Maw Dongyuk. Added, even if we wanted to. Jinwoo stood up and walked to the window that looked out into space. Somewhere out there, the most dangerous predators in the galaxy were coming to reclaim what they thought was theirs. We tell them the truth, he said finally. What truth? Minji asked. That their children are safe and healthy. That they have grown and learned and become more than anyone thought possible. And that they have formed bonds with us that should not be broken. Do you think they will listen? Soyoung asked. I do not know, but we have to try. That night, Jinwoo sat in the lab with the 3 offspring. He could sense his worry and stayed close to him. Big brother rested his large head on Jinwoo's shoulder. Middle sister curled up next to his feet. Little one climbed into his lap and purred softly. Your parents are coming, he told them gently, using the gestures they had learned. Your real parents from your home planet. The offspring looked at each other with what seemed like confusion. Big brother made a sound that meant question, pointed to Jinwoo, then to himself, then made the gesture for family. Yes, Jinwoo said, his voice thick with emotion. We are family too, and families do not abandon each other. Little one reached up and touched Jinwoo's face with her small claw. Her touch was so gentle it felt like a whisper. Then she made a new gesture, one she had created herself. She pointed to her heart, then to Jinwoo's heart, then held her claws together. Jinwoo understood. She was saying that their hearts were connected, that love could not be broken by distance or danger or even by the arrival of biological parents. We will figure this out, he promised them. Whatever happens, we will not let anyone separate our family. But even as he made that promise, Jinwoo knew that the next few days would test everything they had built together. The adult Shadow Maw were coming, and they would want their children back. The question was whether they would understand that. Their children had become something new, something that had never existed before in the galaxy, something that proved love could transform even the most feared predators into gentle souls, capable of both giving and receiving affection. The future of human Shadow Maw relations now depended on 3 small creatures who had learned that family was not about species or biology, it was about love. The Shadow Maw ships arrived like a storm cloud blocking out the stars. 3 massive vessels, each one larger than the research station, took positions around Harmony Station. Their dark hulls seemed to absorb light itself, making the space around them look empty and cold. Commander Mingi Ko stood on the bridge, watching the alien ships through the main viewer. Beside her, Station Commander Vex trembled with fear. His tentacles were pale and shaking. They have requested permission to board, he said, in a voice barely above a whisper. What do I tell them? Tell them yes, Minji replied calmly. Tell them we welcome them to our station. Are you insane? Appeared behind them, his crystal forehead flashing bright red. Those are Shadow Maw warships. Each one could destroy this station in seconds. Then it is good that we are going to cooperate with them, Mingi said. In Research Lab 7, Jinwoo was having the hardest conversation of his life. The three offspring sat before him, now grown to the size of human teenagers, but still displaying the gentle nature they had developed under human care. Your birth parents have come for you, he explained, using the hand gestures they all understood. They have been searching for you since your ship crashed. Big Brother tilted his head and made the sound that meant confusion. He pointed to Jinwoo, then to himself, then made the gesture for parent. Yes, I am like your parent too, Jinwoo said, his heart breaking. But they are your birth parents. Your blood family. Middle sister stood up and walked to the communication console. She had learned to use simple human technology and had been practicing writing human letters. With careful claws, she typed a message on the screen. We choose family. We choose humans. Little one, almost as tall as Jinwoo, but still the most affectionate, wrapped her arms around him in a hug. She had learned this behavior from watching the humans and understood it meant love and comfort. I know you want to stay with us, Jinwoo said softly, but your birth parents have been worried about you. They thought you were dead. The door to the lab opened and Dr. Soyoung Lee entered with tears in her eyes. They are here, she said. The delegation is boarding now. 20 minutes later, the main conference room of Harmony Station hosted the most unusual meeting in Galactic history. On one side sat the alien representatives, their faces showing fear and anger. On the other side sat three massive Shadowmaw adults, their dark forms radiating power and barely controlled violence. The largest Shadowmaw spoke through a translation device. His voice was deep and threatening, like distant thunder. I am Prime. Hunter Rakseth, he said. I have come for my children. Return them now. Your children are safe, Jinwoo replied, stepping forward. Every alien in the room flinched as he moved closer to the Shadowmaw. They have been well cared for. You are the humans who stole them, Rakseth said. It was not a question. We are the humans who saved them, Minji corrected, joining Jinwoo. They were dying when we found them. We healed them and protected them. From what did you protect them? Asked another Shadowmaw, smaller than Rakseth, but still terrifying to look at. From being killed, Soyoung said simply. Every other species on this station wanted them dead. Rakseth turned to look at the alien representatives. His gaze was so intense that several of them stepped backward. Is this true? He asked. Keth lifted his chin defiantly. They are Shadowmaw. They are a threat to all life in the galaxy. It was the logical choice. They are children, Rakseth said. And for the first time, his voice carried emotion other than anger. They are my children. And now we understand why you came, Jinwoo said gently. A parent's love for their children is something all species share. You understand nothing, human, Rakseth replied. You have interfered in affairs that do not concern you. They concerned us the moment we saw three frightened, injured children who needed help, Jinwoo said firmly. Any parent would have done the same thing. Any parent would not have hidden them from their birth family, the smaller Shadowmaw said. We did not hide them, Minji replied. We protected them while they healed and grew strong. And we learned something important about them. What did you learn? Rakseth asked. That they are not born violent, Soyoung said. That they are intelligent and capable of love and friendship. That they can choose to be gentle instead of aggressive. Rakseth made a sound that might have been laughter, but it was not a happy sound. Impossible. Shadowmaw are predators. It is our nature. Come and see, Jinwoo said. Come and meet your children, see what they have become. The journey to Research Lab 7 was tense. The Shadowmaw adults moved like hunters, alert to every sound and movement. The human crew stayed calm, but everyone could feel the danger in the air. When they reached the lab, Jinwoo opened the door slowly. Big brother, middle sister, little one, he called softly. Your birth parents are here to meet you. The three offspring appeared in the doorway. They had grown large and strong, but they moved without aggression. When they saw the adult Shadowmaw, they stopped and tilted their heads curiously. Rakseth made a sound deep in his throat. It was a sound of pure emotion, the cry of a parent who had found lost children. My little ones, he whispered through the translator. You are alive. You are safe. Big Brother stepped forward first. He looked at Raxith for a long moment, then made a gesture he had learned from humans. He pointed to his heart, then to Raxith, then held his claws together. The gesture meant love and connection. Raxith stepped backward in shock. What did he do? He said he loves you, Jinwoo explained. It is a human gesture, but the meaning is universal. Middle sister approached the smaller Shadow Maw, who they learned was her mother. She held out a drawing she had made, showing stick figures of humans and Shadow Maw holding hands together. Little one, always the most affectionate, walked up to the third adult Shadow Maw and gently touched his arm with her claw. She made the soft, purring sound that meant contentment and safety. This is impossible, Raxith said, but his voice was softer now. They show no fear, no aggression. They are acting like ... like children who have been loved and cared for, Jinwoo finished. Because that is what they are. The adult Shadow Maw spent the next hour watching their offspring interact with the humans. They saw games being played, lessons being taught, affection being shared freely between species that should have been natural enemies. How? Raxoth finally asked. How did you do this? We treated them like our own children, Yoonji said. Simply, we gave them food when they were hungry, comfort when they were scared, and love every single day. But they are not your species, the mother Shadow Maw said. Why would you care for creatures so different from yourselves? Because all children deserve love, Jinwoo replied. Species does not matter when a child needs help.
Axe looked at
his offspring, then at the humans, then back at his offspring. For the first time in Shadow Maw history, a prime hunter was speechless. What happens now? He asked finally. That depends on what you want, Minji said. And what they want. What they want. The third Shadow Maw sounded confused. They are children. Children do not choose. These children do, Soyoung said. They have learned to make decisions and express their feelings. She turned to the three offspring. Using the gesture language they had developed, she asked them the most important question of their lives. Do you want to go with your birth parents, or stay with your human family? The three young Shadow Maw looked at each other, then at their birth parents, then at their human caretakers. Finally, Big Brother stepped forward and made a gesture that surprised everyone. He pointed to the Shadow Maw adults, then to the humans, then brought his claws together. He wanted both families, did not want to choose. Middle Sister and Little One nodded in agreement. For the first time in galactic history, a solution would have to be found that had never been tried before. A solution that would require two very different species to learn to share the children they both loved. 5 years later, Dr. Jinwoo Park stood on the observation deck of the New Harmony Peace Station, watching something that had never been seen before in the galaxy. In the large training area below, 3 fully grown Shadow Maw were teaching a group of mixed-species children how to hunt safely. But these were not ordinary Shadow Maw. When a small Voltharian child fell during the exercise, Big Brother immediately stopped and helped the child up with careful claws. Incredible, said Chancellor Vex, who had come to visit the station. 5 years ago I would have said this was impossible. Many things seem impossible until someone decides to try them, Jinru replied, never taking his eyes off the scene. Below, the solution they had reached was simple in concept, but revolutionary in practice. The 3 Shadow Maw offspring would spend half their time with their birth parents, learning the skills and culture of their species. The other half would be spent with their human family, continuing their education in cooperation and peaceful coexistence. A new station had been built specifically for this purpose. Half of it was designed for Shadow Maw, with dark spaces and hunting areas. The other half was designed for humans, with bright lights and comfortable living spaces. The middle sections were shared areas where both species could interact safely. Middle Sister had become the station's first interspecies translator. Her intelligence had continued to grow, and she now spoke fluent human, Shadow Maw, and 3 other galactic languages. She spent her days helping other species understand each other better. She is writing a book, Dr. Soyoung Lee told Jinwoo, as they watched Middle Sister work with a group of diplomats, about how different species can learn to communicate. Galactic Council has already requested copies. What is she calling it? Jinwoo asked. Words between worlds, Soyoung replied with a smile. She says communication is the bridge that connects all species. In another part of the station, little one was working in the medical bay alongside Nurse Yoonji. The smallest of the three had developed a gift for healing. Her gentle nature and sensitive touch made her perfect for caring for injured or sick beings from any species. She saved that Aquarian child's life last week, Yoonji reported during their daily meeting. The doctor said there was nothing they could do, but little one sensed something they missed. Her intuition was perfect. Does she still like to cuddle? Ginwoo asked with a grin. Every night, Yoonji laughed. A Tumator shadow maw who purrs like a kitten when she is happy? The other species find it very confusing. But the real test of their experiment came when the crisis struck. A plague had spread through the outer rim, affecting the children of 12 different species. Traditional medicine was not working, and panic was spreading through the galaxy. That was when Big Brother made a proposal that shocked everyone. Let humans help, he said during a Shadow Maw Council meeting. He had learned to speak both languages fluently. Humans understand how to care for children from different species. The Shadow Maw Council was divided. Prime Hunter Raxoth, who had become the strongest supporter of the Human Shadow Maw Alliance, argued in favor of the proposal. Other Shadow Maw leaders were not convinced. Humans are weak, said War Chief Krell. What can they do that we cannot? They can love without conditions, Big Brother replied. They can see children as children, not as future threats or resources. The debate continued for hours. Finally, Raxoth called for a demonstration. He wanted to see for himself what humans could do that other species could not. The test came when a group of Shadow Maw children became sick with the plague. The adult Shadow Maw tried their traditional healing methods, but nothing worked. The children grew weaker every day. Please, Raxoth said to Jinwoo. Help them. Jinwoo and his team worked around the clock. They did not just treat the symptoms, provided comfort, played games to keep the children's spirits up, and made sure each child felt loved and cared for. Why do you sing to them? Asked one of the Shadow Maw healers. Because music soothes the soul, Yoonji replied, as she sang a lullaby to a sick Shadow Maw infant. Healing is not just about medicine. It's about making the patient feel safe and loved. Within a week, the Shadow Maw children were recovering, not just physically, but emotionally. They laughed and played and showed affection to their caregivers, both Shadow Maw and human. How did you do this? Krell asked Jinwoo. We treated them the way we would want our own children to be treated, Jinwoo replied. With patience, kindness, and unconditional love. The success with the Shadow Maw children led to requests from other species. Soon, human medical teams were working throughout the galaxy, teaching other species how to care for sick children with compassion and gentleness. 3 original offspring became ambassadors for this new approach. They traveled to different worlds, showing other species that former enemies could become family through understanding and love. We are not human, Middle Sister explained to a gathering of galactic leaders. We are not pure Shadow Maw either. We are something new. We are proof that love can create new possibilities. The impact spread beyond medicine. Trade relationships improved as species learned to trust each other. Wars became less common as diplomats used the Harmony Station model to resolve conflicts peacefully. But the greatest change was in how the galaxy viewed children. The old way of seeing young beings as future threats was replaced by a new understanding. Children were seen as opportunities for peace, as bridges between species, as hope for a better future. 10 years after the first crash landing, Jinwoo Park retired from active duty. He was 65 years old and ready to spend his remaining years writing and teaching. But he never left Harmony Peace Station. It had become his true home. On his last day as chief researcher, he sat in the garden area that had been created in the center of the station. It was filled with plants from dozens of different worlds, all growing together in harmony. Big Brother found him there, as Jinwoo had known he would. The massive Shadow Maw settled down beside the old human, careful not to disturb the smaller. Plants, are you sad? Big Brother asked in perfect human. No, Jinwoo replied. I am proud. Look what we built together. Around them, children from 8 different species played together under the watchful eyes of parents from multiple worlds. Human children played with shadowmaw cubs. Eltharian youngsters shared toys with aquarian tadpoles. Sectoid larvae crawled alongside mammalian infants. "Do you remember when we first met?" Jinwoo asked. "I remember you were not afraid," Big Brother replied. "Everyone else saw monsters. You saw children who needed help. And now," Dad Brother looked around at the peaceful scene, "now the galaxy knows what humans have always known. That love is stronger than fear, that family is not about biology, that every child deserves a chance to choose who they want to become." As the artificial sun set over the station, casting gentle light through the garden, Jinwoo Park smiled. He had started his career as a scientist, studying alien life forms. He was ending it as a grandfather to children from across the galaxy. Greatest discovery of his life had not been about alien biology or interspecies communication. It had been about the simple truth that love could transform anything, even the most feared predators in the galaxy, and that discovery had changed everything. The story that began with 3 frightened alien children had become a new chapter in galactic history. A chapter that proved that sometimes the most powerful force in the universe was not technology or weapons or superior intelligence. Sometimes it was simply the willingness to show mercy to those who needed it most. In the end, that was the most human thing of all,